it's almost Halloween, one of my favorite holidays. And whenever I think of Halloween treats, I think of caramel apples. But what's better than just caramel? Caramel and chocolate. So I'm going to teach you how to make caramel and chocolate apple love bites. So I bought these apples at my local farmer's market. They're called Baby Fuji apples. You can see they're so tiny, cute. They actually make smaller apples than these, and I've tried it. It works just as well, this recipe, but I suggest not getting crab apples. Crab apples are the most common small apple, but get something more like a Wixen or a cider apple. It'll be a little bit sweeter. So if you buy your apples at your grocery store, that's totally fine, but they normally come with some wax on them. So what you're gonna have to do before is soak them in hot water for about a minute and take a towel and scrub them really hard. You really wanna make sure you get all that wax off, because if you dip it in the caramel, it won't stick. It'll drip off and streak, and nobody wants that. When I see some caramel apples, they're normally pierced on the top, and I just don't really like that. I like to pierce it at the bottom, so when you're holding it, you see the nice apple facing the way it should be. I'm going to take my stick and pierce it at the bottom about halfway down. I use this bigger stick, but you can find smaller ones. It's just up to you. All preference. Make sure you wash your apples and take off all the stems. And just keep going with all your apples. So there's a couple tips you want to remember when tempering or melting your chocolate. The first step is the bowl that you use cannot have any water in it. If any water gets into the chocolate, it will freeze up and harden. You will not be able to use it. You have to start all over again. Nobody likes that. The second step is you want to make sure the bottom of the bowl is not touching the water that's in the saucepan. For some reason, it just makes it too hot and it never works. You also want to add about 2/3 of your chocolate and keep the other third. You're going to add that a little bit later. So to start your chocolate, put a saucepan on low heat on the stove. Just wait a few minutes, that'll melt, and then once it's about 3/4 of the way melted, add the rest of your chocolate, and that'll help cool it down and give it a more smooth consistency. I'm going to keep the chocolate tempering on the back burner still on low while I work on my caramel. My suggestion is to make sure you measure out all your ingredients and put them right by your pot so that you have it ready. Caramel can cook really quickly, so you just want to make sure you're prepared. So I normally add the vanilla extract and the salt to the heavy cream just so it's easier to dump in one step. So I'm going to turn the flame to medium-high heat. I'm going to add my sugar. I'm going to measure out my corn syrup. All the measurements are in the description below. I'm going to add in my butter. And then I'm going to add 3/4 of my heavy cream and keep 1/4 on the side for later. Give it a quick stir and then don't put any utensils in the pot after that. While we're waiting for the caramel, it's time to add the rest of our chocolate. Repeat these steps if you'd like to use multiple chocolates. Your caramel is going to bubble up and turn into a golden brown. Once that happens, turn it off the heat, add the remainder of your cream, and give it a nice whisk. You want to let this cool until it's thick enough to coat a spoon. While our caramel is cooling, we're going to put some wax paper on a baking sheet and give it a nice coating of butter. This will make sure that your apples won't stick. Now I'm going to dip the apples in the caramel. Make sure you get a nice coating on your apple and shake off the excess, and then scrape off the bottom on the side of your saucepan. Let your apples cool for about 10 minutes and then use your spatula to mold the caramel to the bottom part of your apple. For your toppings, pick some of your favorite nuts. I picked walnuts and almonds. You can also use some of the chocolate bars you have lying around for trick-or-treaters. Just stick them in the fridge before you cut them. So I like to use a large soup spoon to coat the chocolate evenly on the apple. See how nicely it just coats it? Make sure you get the top too. Just take a big heapful of the chocolate and roll my apple in the spoon. So if you want to mix it up a little bit, feel free to add the nuts first and then chocolate over it, like so. So take your rubber spatula, take a nice big plump amount of chocolate and just give it a long streak up and down. You can add the chocolate to a piping bag and do it that way if you want, or even a Ziploc bag and cut the corner, but I find that this way is just as easy. Now we're going to dip some white chocolate on it, get it some streaks. Just drizzle it. It's so nice. How delicious does that look? Well, there you have it. Don't they look amazing? They're the perfect way to impress your guests without leaving them overstuffed. Make sure to try this recipe for your friends and family, and also subscribe below. Thanks, my lovelies. Bye!